This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Shawn Rhodes, speaker, guru, sales ninja. How are you, my friend?
Doing wonderful, wonderful. Here in Tampa, Florida today, where it feels like a rainforest.
Oh, very nice. A little hot, muggy, humid, that kind of thing?
Yep, you got it.
Very nice. You have so much fantastic information to share, but let's rewind the clock a little bit. Tell us about your forays and your adventures in the speaking business, kind of what brought you to speaker land, what your adventures have been as a leadership speaker, and then what we're really here to talk about is speaker sales systems, both capital S and lowercase s, because of course you've got a fabulous initiative that we'll talk about, and we'll just leave that as a surprise here for the next couple of minutes. But talk about your adventures in speaking and kind of how you came up through the ranks.
Absolutely. So in 2013, I decided that if there was going to be any time in my life I was going to start my own business as a professional speaker, as a consultant, as a coach, it was going to be then. So I left a corporate, a government job, actually. It was a very secure, tenured position. I basically could just show up and be incompetent for 30 years and collect a nice retirement check. But I wasn't comfortable with that. So I decided I'm going to take everything that I love doing, that I'm passionate about, and build that into a business. And like most speakers, I'd launched the business, hung out my shingle, and waited for the phone to ring, waited for emails to come in. And so I was given a couple pieces of advice that were kind of outdated. I was told, go speak at every civic organization, go speak for free, go speak for exposure, and someone in your audience will walk up to you and say, I'd love for you to do that for my company or at my next event, and there's money involved. Well, I waited for that to happen, and it just didn't happen. So not knowing what to do with bills coming in, I was faced with a choice, money running out, didn't have that much cash reserve, still had a mortgage payment. I asked myself, Shawn, if you were going to hire you to come into your company and consult and coach and say, what does Shawn Rhodes need to do to build his speaking business? What would you tell Shawn to do? And the first thing was not make my website sexier or get a better speaker's reel. It was, you need revenue, you need sales. What are you going to do to get that in a way that we can actually track and predict? So if I was going to coach me, what would I tell me to do? And it was, you're going to make 15 calls a day to specific people who can pay for your speaking, pay for your consulting. And once I began doing that, I started getting revenue in the door. And then I realized, well, shoot, that works, but how do I make it even bigger? How do I scale it out? How do I make it so that I'm not the guy that actually has to be on the phone every day selling this? And that's when I had to really take a hard look at my business model. And the words of Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, came to mind. And he said, if you're going to scale your business out, imagine that tomorrow you're going to open 5,000 businesses exactly like yours. What do you have to do so that 5,000 people can run your business? Well, you have to have systems in place. You have to have processes. Once I began doing that, capturing just what I was already doing naturally, but in a way that someone else could then pick up and take down the field, that's when I was able to hire people to run my business for me so that I could be out there creating content, delivering from the stage, and really giving the impact and the income that I got in this business to have.
So fantastic. And there's 17 things that you just said that we need to unpack and dig into.
Sure.
The first thing I think is this fantasy that so many speakers and experts have. Hey, I'm a speaker. I love to write. I love to create content. I just want to hire someone to do the marketing and the sales stuff. Now, if you think about it logically and rationally, it is really hard to delegate and train something that you have no idea how to do.
It's impossible.
So when you have first learned this, right, is it true that you have to first, secure your own mask before teaching others? That you had to get in the trenches. You had to do the outreach, the prospecting, the door opening conversations, getting a lot of no's on the way to getting a lot of yeses before you could hire your first person, correct?
That's absolutely correct. A lot of speakers are looking for that magic bullet. And when they hear about the systems that I've built, which we'll get into, and how we're actually going to be kind of unlocking the treasure chest for everybody that's listening here today, I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to get rejected on the phone. I had to learn what made a good prospect and what made a bad prospect so that I was more likely to get a yes when I got on the phone. So there's a lot of different things that we have to do on our own as speakers. And I'll tell you, David, that I just personal belief as a business owner, I'm never willing to outsource anything that I don't know how to do myself, at least at a minimally viable level. And the reason for that is if I ever have to pull it back in, the economy tanks, my clients disappear, I have to be able to do that, because otherwise I'm putting the fate of my business and my revenue in the hands of somebody else. And I'm unwilling to do that as a business owner, because then I'm not running a business. I'm still an employee. We're just doing a really weird revenue exchange with my contractors that know how to do stuff that if they took that away, I'd fall flat on my face.
Right. Now, I'm going to go backwards and forwards in our entire conversation, because something that you just said also is going to be a little bit of future pacing of what we're about to share with people, which is the concept of, I just need to buy a CRM. I'm just going to buy Pipedrive or HubSpot Professional or Karma or any of these, and that's going to make me an awesome salesperson. And man, once I get into that CRM, I'm just going to know what to do and what to say and what to send, and that CRM system is somehow going to be a magic bullet. And you and I both personally know a lot of speakers who've spent a lot of money on CRMs and their business is no further ahead than before. What's the missing ingredient there, really?
The missing ingredient is what you're doing inside of your CRM. A CRM is just a tool. It's just a vehicle. But if you don't know how to operate the GPS, or you don't know how to navigate the roads to get from A to B, you're going to be, driving around for a long time in a really sexy vehicle that's not going to get you where you want to go. And this is something that you've actually said before, David. I've heard you, these brilliant words come out of your mouth, that you're teaching speakers to build a Porsche engine. But if you put that Porsche engine inside of a Yugo, you're going to get Yugo results, because the frame of the Yugo can only handle so much. But if you're taking that Porsche engine that you're teaching people to build with your podcast, your courses, all the great content you're delivering, and you get them to understand the Porsche that they are capable of building, suddenly Porsche engine, Porsche frame, you can go down the road really fast. And that's the goal of what we're all trying to do. So if you don't have the campaigns in place, the ability to get on the phone to run those campaigns, to understand what good marketing looks like and what it doesn't look like, the best CRM in the world is going to get you no better than what you're doing right now. But with those pieces in place, you could take any CRM, a spreadsheet, and do a really good job as a business owner.
You mentioned another fantastic word, which is the word campaign. How many speakers say, well, I tried to connect with Joe on LinkedIn and he didn't accept my connection. I emailed Susie over here at the association and she never replied. I left 2 voicemails for Bob. Boy, I guess I just don't have what it takes to sell this thing. And they think that one-off outreach or one-off contacts, that's going to seal the deal, or that's even going to open the door. Talk about this concept of a campaign versus individual scattered outreach efforts that are done sporadically.
I'll do this in context of how I fell flat on my face, because I know people love hearing those stories. And when I'm listening to podcasts like this one, I want to hear, what do I need to avoid so that I don't make that mistake? So I'll give everybody that lesson. I started off with a very simple campaign that was probably 2 or 3 outreach steps, like you mentioned. And another great consultant and coach that's well known in our community gave me this. It worked really well for him. I realized it was converting a little bit of revenue for me, 2 or 3 outreaches to the right people, but I was losing 80% of the folks that I qualified to go into this campaign, because I'd take time. When is your next event? Who's the decision maker? Where's that event going to be? The stuff that you teach people how to do. But with only 2 or 3 outreach points, 80% of the people were floating out there because they wouldn't get back to me, or I'd lose track of them. And so we realized we needed a campaign that had more than 3 steps. And most speakers, and there are speakers that make their entire living on just sending emails out in order to generate business, blessed be to them. I haven't figured that one out yet. So my goal is to get in a conversation with the decision maker. And that means that it's not just sending an email, it's also picking up the phone. It's using LinkedIn, it's sending a letter, it's sending a stationary card with my business logo on it, all customized to them and their event, which is easy to do with a little bit of research. And we'll talk about how to do that, I'm sure. But that's the type of singular outreach campaign I have for somebody that has never heard of me. Now, if you really want to get ninja with this, David, and I know a lot of your listeners would love that secret, how do I bring this to the next level? With a multi-step outreach campaign involving different types of communication, why don't you set up multiple campaigns across what we call a pipeline in the sales world? And this is something that blows most speakers' heads off. You mean I can run concurrent campaigns? You sure can. And any CRM could allow you to do that. If you really wanted to get technical, you could use a spreadsheet, but it would probably make your ears bleed. But most CRMs allow you to run concurrent campaigns across multiple prospects, so that no matter what stage of the decision-making pipeline they happen to be in, they're not making a decision now, they're going to be making that in August, or they've never heard of me. What do I do to get their attention to find out when they're making a decision? I can have multiple campaigns running across a pipeline. The listeners, it's kind of hard to describe, but imagine a plumbing system inside of a house where water could enter, but it's never going to leave. It just constantly circulates. That's what a well-built pipeline allows you to be able to do as a speaker. And this is something that's really cool to me, David. You can tell I'm passionate about it because it's really helped build my business to a high revenue level that allows me to step back and do the things I'm great at. But having all of that stuff running concurrently without me having to worry about what the next step is allows me to focus on the things that I care about in my business, like getting new leads in the pipeline, like delivering great value, like really making sure the clients get the value they paid for after the event. And there's lots of ways to do that when you have all this stuff running in a way that it's automated. That's the goal of all of our businesses, but that most speakers have never thought to look at what are other successful salespeople doing in other industries. You talk to any outbound salesperson about a pipeline, they know what you mean. You go to an NSA conference and you talk about pipelines. I got pipes in the house, man. What are you talking about? How does that apply to my business? We really need to start educating the business community of speakers that this is a business, which means sales, marketing, financing, accounting. You have to have all these things in play in order to run a really top-notch business. And that's what we're trying to build with this podcast, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the great Larry Winget said there's really only 2 keys to success in the speaking business. Key number 1 is be really, really good. Key number 2, ask a lot of people to buy.
Yeah, that helps.
Ask a lot of people to buy. I'll tell you, gang, if you're doing number 1 and you're not doing number 2, you might be a speaker, but you don't have a business. So we're here to put the business back into your speaking business, right?
How many speakers contact you, David, and talk about feast or famine in their business?
Many.
All of them, I bet.
Yeah.
Right? This happens to all of us one time or another. And the feast or famine only occurs in a business if you're not building a pipeline that you can control. If you're not having a sales process in place that is dependent upon you to be able to pick up the phone and generate revenue. Right. So many speakers are, the feast and famine is like a roller coaster for them, emotionally and financially. We don't want that kind of business. And even speakers that have been on the platform 30 years are in feast or famine if they're not doing what you said, asking a lot of people to buy.
Well, we're going to pivot now into something that is really super exciting and that I'm getting in on. I don't know if all y'all are getting in on it, but I'm getting in on it, which is you have developed a 3-part program that I'm going to describe as you teach it, you do it with us, and you do it for us at some different levels of investment of what we're talking about here. So we talked about generating leads, building a pipeline. We talked about CRM. We talked about process, and we talked about campaigns. Right now, everyone's throwing up their hands going, you know what? I'm out. Sounds too hard. Sounds too complicated. Don't know what to do. I'm that guy that Shawn and David were talking about. I'm trying to outsource it, never having figured it out myself. Well, great news, my friends. Shawn has figured it out, and Shawn's team has it figured out. Let's start talking about the training. And the training, I'm going to give everyone a URL. We're going to link this up in the show notes. If you pop over to thespeakingshow.com, you'll see this all linked up in the show notes. The link is doitmarketing.com/sales. And this is the gateway to Shawn's speaker, sales, coaching, CRM, the format, the structure, the templates, what to say and what to send at every step and stage of the process. So let's talk about what is in the course, how you built the course and the CRM and sort of this done with you level. And then if you want to kind of let people in a little bit of a secret, feel free to share as much as you care to about the done for you upgrade if you want to.
Absolutely. So it started off with, again, me systemizing as much as I could in my business so that I could hand it off to a salesperson, an inside salesperson, to pick up the phone, to send the letters, to fill out the cards by hand, all the stuff I was doing as part of sales and marketing to run a multiple 6-figure business. Now that it's all systemized, we realized it would be a shame to keep this to ourselves when so many speakers are struggling to just set up a singular campaign. Who do I target? How do I identify a great prospect? How do I get them into a campaign? What does the campaign look like? How do I have the conversation to get past the gatekeeper? How do I have the sales conversation to drive a really high value event? And how do I couch that all in terms of solutions? So it's not picking up the phone saying, would you buy my keynote talk? No, it's picking up the phone and finding out about the client challenges. What are they looking to solve with their event? And how can you play a part with a strategic solution and the expertise that you provide? So having all that in place in a systemized way, we've uploaded it into a CRM that partnered with us to give us a turnkey speaker sales system. So imagine a CRM that is built specifically for speakers, where every time you pull up a contact page, you immediately are hit with everything you need to know to have an intelligent conversation with that contact, their next event, who the decision maker is. Did they bring in David Newman in the past? At what price level? To be able for you to look at one spot and know, what do I need to say on the phone to drive a great conversation to get that ability to ask permission? Can I sell you my services, my keynote talk, my consulting, my workshops? That's part one. Part two is imagine having all of those campaigns from cold outreach. They've never heard of me before. What happens if they don't get in touch with me? What's the campaign I need to drop them into to really drive it harder if they're ignoring me? Or if I find out who the decision maker is, but I don't know what their budget is or when they're going to be buying, how do I drop them in that type of a campaign? Imagine having all that built for you, all of it scripted, all of it templated across emails, LinkedIn, letters, phone calls, voicemails, and to be able to drop a prospect into that system, pull it up any given day and know exactly what you need to do, what letter you need to send, what you need to pick up the phone, and who you need to call in order to drive them down into a sales conversation so that you can really talk about delivering your expertise in a big way. That's what we've built inside of a new platform that we're calling Speaker Sales Systems Pro, and that we're releasing to the speaking community. And this is the first podcast we've ever talked about it on. So David's community, or you're going to have first crack at getting in this before we have to really raise the price out of launch status and into full-fledged, okay, we're doing this for the rest of the market. So you are first, up to bat to make sure that you can use this inside your businesses.
Absolutely. And we've got two incentives for people that they need to know about. So number one, this is something where the price is going up.
Drastically.
And so we're recording this now in June.
Mm-hmm.
I think July 1st is when the price goes up. Is that correct?
Yep. It's going to go up at least 2 or 3-fold, if not more.
So right now is the time to get in on this. And then I'm also going to sweeten the deal. I just was thinking about this and you're talking. I'm like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Here's what I'm going to do. Because I so believe in this. And I'm already here at level 2 with Shawn. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. Anyone that goes to doitmarketing.com/sales enrolls at the special launch pricing, Shawn and I are going to compare notes and kind of see all the folks that went to that special link. And I will give you 30 minutes of one-on-one time with me to help you get ready for this sales campaign, clear up any of your messaging, packaging, positioning, marketing questions to get you S3 ready. Get you S3 ready so that when Shawn and his team do the intake process, you've got your messaging dialed in, your website looks good, your LinkedIn looks good, your value prop is what it needs to be, and you're saying what it is that you need to be saying to get buyers to say, hey, we want that.
Yep. And I've already paid a lot of money for just that on its own. So if you get that plus all the campaigns loaded up, that's worth it by itself. And I'll tell everybody else something unique about this is that we've loaded this inside of a CRM. So you get to go have your own account with Karma CRM with all of this stuff preloaded, and that's yours forever. So we're going to give you 3 months of use inside of that system with all of the campaigns loaded up. At the end of 3 months, if you decide it's for you, you want to keep using the CRM to run your business with, you retain everything that you've built. It's all yours. And Karma can roll over into a month-to-month subscription, which is very reasonable compared to most CRMs, especially with all of this content preloaded in it for you.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show. Now, let's talk about level 2, because there's going to be some advanced speakers, some seasoned speakers, CSP, CPAE, Hall of Fame, $1 Million Group, all of these people. And this is the magic service. When you and I first talked about this, I was like, wow, dude, seriously? I've been trying to figure this out since the year 2010. Yeah. And I've tried various formats and configurations, and a lot of other people have tried this sort of bolt-on speaker sales agency. Let's talk about what's that secret sauce. What are some of the criteria that you're looking for in clients that you're looking to kind of, filter? Because this absolutely is not for everybody. It's not for the newbies. It's not for the beginners. It's not for the folks that are day one in their business. What does it take to be successful to get into this level 2 program? And also tell us what the level 2 program involves.
Absolutely. So we recognize that a lot of speakers would love to go through a course like this, but they don't have the time. They're delivering 40, 50, 60 events a year, or they're consulting, or they're doing all kinds of other things, but they recognize the value in having someone working on their team, part of their company, doing outbound sales in a systemized way. And David, you and I have chatted about this. There are a lot of great agents out there that are just naturally good at sales. But if you ask them to replicate themselves, they wouldn't be able to do it because there's no system behind what they do. So what we've done is identified a couple inside sales representatives that are familiar with the speaking community. They've been in this community for decades. And they realize for them, their sweet spot, their value is in picking up the phone and driving sales. So imagine a salesperson that's trained and knowledgeable about our community with all of these campaigns and systems behind them, using that in a way that allows a speaker to have Bob, for instance, at davidnewman.com or doitmarketing.com working on your behalf for your company using this intellectual property, this systems driving stuff that really gets results at the tail end. And so if you are a speaker that has those assets in place already, you've been in the business a while, as David said, you've got the speaking reel, you've got your website set up, you're out there doing gigs, and you'd love for somebody to be driving more of those calls to you, this might be exactly what you need because it's the systems, it's the expertise paired together to get you the results that you're looking for and driving those sales for your company.
Yeah, and let's also go back, and I want to kind of get back into kind of some of the problems that this solves, certainly some of the problems that it solves for me. A lot of people at every level in the speaking experience spectrum, they say, I'm doing the calls, I'm doing the outreach, but I'm kissing a lot of frogs. Yeah. And I don't know who has budget. I don't know who really hires speakers. I don't know, are they some little podunk association that pays $300? Or are these the people that brought in Colin Powell for $80,000? Or are they somewhere in between? Let's talk about the vetting, because this isn't just like, hi, do you hire speakers? I mean, you guys do a very thorough criteria setting, filtering, sorting process with any lead who enters your system on behalf of a client of yours. Right. How does that work? What dimensions do you look at? And how do you avoid wasting a ton of time on your team?
Absolutely. So, and we're going to give this actually to every listener, whether you decide the course is for you, whether you decide that Speaker Sales Systems Platinum, with your own inside sales rep is right for you. I'm going to give you the 9 vetting criteria that we use before a lead is allowed to enter the pipeline. And David is going to have that link in the show notes. What we do is, like David said, not every association is the right fit. Sometimes it's based upon the spinoff business. Like I do really great work in manufacturing for spinoff business, but I do horrible work in HR. So I don't really want to speak to a lot of HR conferences, even if they have budget. So we qualify on who's the decision maker, what's their direct line. Sometimes it's a meeting planner, sometimes it's an executive director. When is their next event? What day is it? Where is it? So I can have an intelligent conversation on the phone. Who did they bring in the past? Was it a David Newman, or was it, Sally, the internal representative of a vendor? But they're probably not paying anything. Sally's probably paying to be on the stage, but they probably paid David Newman if David Newman was on their stage in the past couple of years. So we vet all of our prospects through those 9 criteria. And again, you'll have access to all of these before they're allowed in the pipeline, so that when we're looking at the overall value of our pipeline, we know these prospects have the ability to pay what we want them to pay or what we know we're worth as speakers. So that when we're reaching out, it's not finding out 3 months down the road, we really don't pay speakers at all. No, it's knowing they brought in David Newman last year. They probably have a decent sized budget from me.
Let's also talk about proactive versus reactive, because you mentioned at the top that, basically waiting to get lucky is not a great sales strategy. Or, this really makes me crazy, and maybe I'd love your take on it too. Speakers that say, I've never done any marketing. I word of mouth, referrals. Now, where people come to you and people come to me is when that no longer works. And they say, I haven't made a sale. I haven't made a sales call in 5 years. I haven't made a sales call in 10 years. Shawn, I forgot how to do a sales call. Right. I haven't had to sell myself, but the market has shifted, or their audience has retired, their buyer population, right? You're a 25-year veteran. You've got contacts and people who move. Contact retires, and you didn't do your relationship building inside that account. Now you're a nobody. Now you're a stranger again. You have to do more door opening, more prospecting, more vetting. What do you say to people who say that I've never had to do any marketing? It's all been word of mouth. It's all been referral. That's not a strong, proactive position to be in, is it?
It isn't. And I would question whether you're running a business or a practice. Now, David and I have sat down at many a cigar peg over the years and had this conversation. And it's my belief that a lot of speakers are running practices or they're hobbyists. And the reason I say that is because if I ask them, what revenue projection do you have for Q3 of this year? They look at me like I have a horn growing out of my head, because they don't know. It's foreign language. But you ask any other business person in any other industry what your revenue projection is for any quarter, they can tell you because they're tracking it, because it's something that we have to do as business people. And so when a lot of speakers say, well, it's all been word of mouth referral, I say that's a great plan and it works until it doesn't. And if you should be doing both, yes, kill it from the stage. But if you don't have an outbound sales and marketing process, you're never going to be able to control your revenue. Your revenue is always going to be in the hands of your prospects or your clients. And I don't want to run a business like that. I want to know if I need to jack up my revenue by 6 figures or 7 figures in any given year, what levers do I need to pull inside of my business or inside of my pipeline in order to generate that result? In my mind, that keeps me in control of my business because I'm not reliant upon somebody else having the memory of, oh yeah, we saw Shawn speak 10 years ago. He's great. No, I'm going to let you know how great I am because you're going to enter my pipeline. I'm going to deliver consistent value to you, find out what your challenges are, and we're going to have an honest conversation about who's the best fit for your event. And if I think it's me, great. And if I don't think it's me, I'm the first person to say it. And the only reason that I can do this confidently, and this is a great sales lesson for a lot of people out there that are kind of nervous about getting back into the sales world, my job is to disqualify people as quickly as possible. And the only reason I can do that is because I have 30 of them lined up behind you. And so if you, David, are not the right fit for me, it's not like, man, that was the only prospect I had. Ooh, God, I better go find some more. No, I've got 30 people behind you, 30 letters I need to send, 15 calls I need to make, 18 LinkedIn messages I have to send today. And that's why I know if you're not the right fit, boom, we'll see you later, man. Talk to you next year. Maybe things will have changed. I've got other prospects I've got to target. But if I don't have those other prospects in the pipeline ready to go with a system to tell me what to do to reach out to them, I get really nervous if you tell me no, because that means my bills probably will go unpaid.
Yeah, that is such a great point. I have a little nickname for that exact thing, which is if you have a strong process, you never have to worry about an individual prospect, right? Because you get the prospect comes in, oh my God, I'm going to make $15,000 with this prospect. Oh yeah, Shawn, we decided to go off in a different direction. Right. Oh no, my kids don't eat this month. What do I do? But like you said, that rich pipeline, that makes you a lion. That rich pipeline, you're not worried about any individual yes or no. And what you're worried about is stick with the process. Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Let's talk about the CRM because there's some CRM newbies and CRM babies out there. You said something that sounds like magic. I sit down in the morning, I open my laptop, I log in, and I am told or reminded what I need to do. Yes. Who needs a call? Who needs a letter? Who's at stage 3? Who's gone stale and has not replied for 2 days to stage 1? Who's at stage 5? Who did I send an agreement to that hasn't sent it back yet? I've got my to-do list every single day in front of me. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And that's based on the stages and the milestones and the documents and the templates that are already kind of preset.
Already in there.
You push the go button and then there's the flow. Now, again, for the CRM newbies, that might scare some people because they say, oh my God, I'm creating this kind of monster that's going to be like sending emails and messages and doing all this stuff. Let's say that someone did not reply. There's a, hey, you didn't reply. It doesn't say, hey, you didn't reply, but it's, that's the logic, right? That goes out. Oh, I don't want to be a pest. I want to wait 3 days instead of 2 days. They kind of want to micromanage. Good idea, bad idea. What's your advice for a client that comes in to the program and wants to kind of micromanage the timing or the calendar?
I'll step back on this and give you the reasoning for why we have the timing we do. This is a great business practice, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team of 20. Every single week, I sit down with my team, and they're required to bring me 5 problems that they ran into over the course of the last week. Software problems, client problems. A prospect said this is an objection. We didn't know what to say. They said they didn't have any money. So they bring these things to me every week. We sit down as a team and work out solutions. A lot of the things that I've been brought over the past couple of years of running my business and using this process are, should we shorten that timeline between this email and that phone call? Should we leave this voicemail instead of that one? That's actually how we were able to build these 8 concurrently running campaigns to the level that they're at, because every single week we make them better. We iterate every single part of them as we encounter challenges. And so what we've created is a Porsche that's been built to run on the very specific road of driving speaker sales. And so when you tell me, we're worried about, the 2-day lag as opposed to the 3-day lag, you are more than willing and able to change any timeline you'd like inside any of the campaigns that we have. However, recognize that they've been built over the course of 2 years and a lot of lost revenue. So every time I lose a deal or I realize I lost money, left it on the table, that's a change that gets built into the process that we have. So that challenge never happens again. And that's how all these campaigns were built. The reason that the LinkedIn message appears there is because we realized we were getting better results putting it there at that timeline. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So back in my corporate days, I was a technology and management consultant. Mm-hmm. Very exciting.
Yeah.
On the technology side, we put in ERP systems, and then we did some change management consulting around those ERP systems. So they were buying like Oracle and PeopleSoft and Lawson and all these things. Client would typically say, can we customize the software because we have this kind of ass backwards crazy system where it goes here, 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 and there? And our typical answer was, you can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because part of what you're buying when you install any of these big corporate ERP systems, you're not just buying software, you're buying the process that the software helps you to enforce.
Absolutely.
So when you guys go to doitmarketing.com/sales and you get in on this before June 30th, which is when all of this special pricing expires and the one-on-one consult with me expires, you're not only getting the methodology, training, and tools, you're getting the process installed like a new operating system
for your business,
speaking business. So that, think about, when you're upgrading your Mac or you're upgrading your PC to the latest version of Mac OS or Windows, it's like, things run faster. Things run better. They've moved this from here to there. Now they streamlined this. They took away iTunes. There's no more iTunes, guys. Sorry. So you're probably listening to this on Apple Podcasts. Why? Because it's streamlined. There's now a new process to that they have optimized. Can you still get into your old iTunes? Yeah, but it's going to be broken, funky, sad, missing, weird. So don't reverse engineer what Shawn and his team have proven out through thousands and thousands and thousands of clients and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of engagements, that this is what gets clients to say yes. Am I correct?
That's correct. So when we give you the call scripts, we give you the voicemail scripts, recognize that's been improved over 4,000 calls because we track everything in my business. I want to know how many calls convert, how many don't, for what reasons do the ones convert, all that. So yeah, we've put a lot of failure into making sure that we have a system that works, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally amazing. This also reminds me, there was a detective show. I forget which one it was, but it was one of these gruff sergeants saying, I want you to track this guy. I want you to tail this guy. Every move, every habit. I want to know what time he wakes up in the morning. I want to know how he likes his eggs.
Right.
And you guys have dialed this in where when you're doing outreach or you're helping us do outreach, we are going to know these people better than they know themselves. And We're going to know how they like their eggs.
Absolutely right. Yep. And then as kind of a bonus, if you will, for what this course actually entails, we pulled together about half a dozen of some top speakers in America, folks that are CSPs, really running businesses. If you're in the NSA community, you've seen them on the main stage. I brought them in for a private retreat in February of 2019. We filmed the whole thing as I delivered these processes, explained the psychology of all this to them, filmed it all, and that's part of the course. So as you learn what a cold outreach campaign is and why it's built this way, you get to be in the room with some speakers that are making close to $500,000 or more a year. Listen to their questions because probably they're going to be the same ones you have. That's all built into the course. And by the way, it's 12 weeks long. Don't let that intimidate you. The reason it's 12 weeks long is because we are installing a new operating system in your business, essentially. And that all can't happen in one weekend. I wish it could, but it would break everything that you have. So over the course of 12 weeks, teaching you about sales processes, campaigns, continuous improvement, how to deliver your value in a way that's not by my keynote talk, but let's talk about the solutions you're trying to provide, client, and I'll see if I can match up my expertise to them. That's really what you're running through over the course of this program.
Right. I love it. Absolutely. So let's wrap up with, if people were to take one key thing from our conversation today about speaker, sales, best practices, methodologies, do's and don'ts, crazy thinking, the mythology around it, demystifying what it really takes, what would you hope that one central idea would be?
That it is possible to dispel the myths that a lot of speakers have been taught. It takes 10 years to make it in this business. You have to kill it from the stage if you want to be successful. It's great to have all those things, to have time behind you to be a great speaker. But if you're not running a business where you can predict and control revenue, I would question whether you're running a business. And I'm telling you, as a speaker that helps speakers do this, it is possible to run a business where you can predict revenue and you can scale what you do out into the world.
In our program, we recommend that people build a revenue model. I'm constantly teaching and preaching because they've heard that term before. The term they haven't heard before is what you and I are talking about, how to enforce your revenue model. So you're not hoping or wishing or guessing or praying that you make $15,000 this month. You know that you're going to make $15,000 this month. And if you don't, you know what to fix and you know where to improve the quality and quantity of your sales outreach and your outbound activity. That's the other thing is when people fall short of their goals, and some have goals and some don't, but the ones that have goals, when they fall short of the goals, they go, oh well. And what I recommend is you got to get into massive intelligent action. So if you guys have not hit your sales goals for the past few months, or for some of you the past few years maybe, this is the magic service that you've been looking for. When you go to doitmarketing.com/sales before June 30th, special pricing disappears then. It's going to go up by a factor of 2 or 3. This really should be a $5,000 program. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Nudge, nudge.
Or more, right?
Yeah.
Or more. And also the 30-minute one-on-one where I can give you marketing advice, strategic advice, messaging advice to help you really hit the ground running with Shawn's amazing training and coaching. And even for selective people, maybe the platinum level where you get your own inside sales rep to do this with you and to be your virtual sales extension of your own company, which is what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be super cool, super exciting. All right, my friend, great to have you on. People need to hop over there ASAP. Please do yourself the favor, get the training, get in on this. It is amazing. It is the most systematized. Well, we didn't talk about, we have to take another minute. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have to talk about your United States Marine Corps background, because when I say military precision and military systemization, talk about your service to our country.
Absolutely. So I was honored and fortunate to be able to serve as a United States Marine and 2 tours in Iraq. And the unique job that they gave me, because they could take one look at me and say, Shawn, you speak way too well to be a typical Marine, and you have horrible discipline and bearing. As I said, you're probably not going to survive in the infantry, but given the fact you can speak, why don't we put you in this really unique job? Very few people have it. You get to be a professional storyteller for the Marine Corps and the armed services. And so they sent me to all the training to do that. So I was what they call a combat correspondent. My job and the way I position that from the stage is they put me in the most dangerous places on the planet to study teams that succeeded in impossible situations. Now, what I really understood I was studying was how does a team develop a process, implement it, and improve it every single time that it's ran in order to make it better and better and better. And when I said in the beginning of this podcast, I had to ask myself, how would I consult Shawn Rhodes? That's what I began doing. Put a process in place, fix it, make it better every single time. That's what built to the multiple 6-figure business I have now with speaking. And that's really, what the Marine Corps gave to me as a veteran. And now I get to be able to share that with veterans and civilians across the world. So I'm really honored to be able to do that.
Totally amazing. Well, you are what my people call a mensch. And if you guys need to look that up, don't worry. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. All right, Shawn, thank you for being on. We're going to have you back and talk more about this, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. You're going to have some amazing, incredible results from all of your clients, me among them. And we'll do a hot wash up in military terms.
Love it.
And see how all of this rolled out. But I'm telling you guys, get in on this now. You'll be sorry if you miss out. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, buddy. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.